decent, despite it being a 3-0, but Maru just kind of outclassed him at little steps in the way. Anyhow, getting into this series, spawning in the bottom left of 2,000 atmospheres, it is Big Gabe. Playing for Team Mousesports.
What a pre-show, Benjamin. First, Zombie Grub throws the probe around, then he says, I don't know anything about Twitch yet. They're making fun of no Protoss players. And then they also say that this man is gonna take it 3-0. In the top right side, we're looking at the main base of our Korean Terran player. It is Maru.
Was that like a like he's not going to take it 3-0?
Yeah, I'm going full game, like not on my watch.
Click, click.
Kind of chance, Benjamin.
Oh, Kevin. Like, this game's already starting off a little bit spicy here. We have HeRoMaRinE opening up with a Barracks Gas. Far more normal opening from him, whereas Maru has got a Barracks on the other side of the map here with double gas at home. Very often, this can lead into one of those proxy Marauder plays, which it's not fully all in or anything like that. You do get the factory back at home, but it definitely is a bit tricky to stop.
I've never seen Gabe sit in the dark this much. I wonder if this is going to channel some extra energy.
I mean, Dark Gabe compared to Light Gabe. In fact, yeah, when it's late at night when he's streaming, it's much lighter than this. Maybe he's as sick of the light as you are right now. Anyhow, Gabe is going to be getting a SCV across the map, so he will get to find out what's going on. The next thing for him will be, okay, is this Proxy 2 Rax Reaper? But I mean, HeRoMaRinE is a smart fella. He tends to be very, very strict about what builds he goes up against. And when he sees that factory, I think he's going to know exactly what he's up against here.
Yep, but Maru was adding a tech lab, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's going to be... No. Wait, he was, but he did cancel it.
He canceled the tech lab. Can we take a look at the units lost resource tab real quick to confirm that? There you go. 18 resources down the drain. So Maru changed his mind. Maybe that is because HeRoMaRinE has to be scouted?
I think so. I mean, this bunker on the low ground by HeRoMaRinE is actually very good. Like, your Marauder wouldn't be able to get anything done against that. And HeRoMaRinE gets to sit back at home a little bit, but as we said, it's not the biggest commitment ever, but it is far nicer having your barracks at home so you can get a reactor on it and such. So far, it's actually not bad for HeRoMaRinE whatsoever.
Nope. I think, of course, the one game that really stood out when they played against each other at the Intel Extreme Masters was that game on Jagannatha, where everyone was convinced Gabe had it in the bag, and Maru really showed us some proper fighting spirit and was still able to bring it back. But, you know, I think we also all have to stop at saying, like, oh yeah, HeRoMaRinE can take maps of Clam. Gabe has been doing a whole lot more than taking a couple of maps of Clam, okay? Gabe has been taking multiple series in a row now against Clam at this point, and throughout the entire year has actually had a lot of victories on the board. I think they're tied pretty much to this series. And it's kind of funny because we all look at this and like HeRoMaRinE against Maru is like, oh, Maru's definitely going to win. Well, if it would have been Clam against Maru, then I feel like people would have been a lot more hopeful and be like, oh, I absolutely do believe Clam could take this. I almost feel like HeRoMaRinE is getting underrated a little bit in that regard.
It can also be how HeRoMaRinE perceives himself, though, you know? Like,
yeah, he's very real always.
He's very real, and when he said, like, oh, when I go up against Cyril and Reyna, they're better than me, like, Maru's better, he was very harsh on himself, but he absolutely has chances here. This isn't going to be a walk in the park for Maru, like, at all.
Maru obviously sending one Hellion forward just to absorb that Widow Mine shot and then wants to make some magic happen with his 3 Reapers and a Hellion. But HeRoMaRinE has 2 Reapers himself, decent grenade there. Maru still keeping all of his units alive. It's important for HeRoMaRinE to get a couple of guaranteed kills. Can he get that Hellion? No, not yet. Does get it in the end. He's gonna end up losing another Reaper here though, but Hellions are a bit quicker than Reaper, Benjamin. Oh, that grenade by Maru, well done.
It's got to be said, Maru's microing this quite well so far. It was funny, right? Like, using the Hellion to bait the Widowmine as opposed to just a Reaper, but it paid off. I guess it allows them to hop into the main at a later point with more Reapers, which, you know, could end up dealing damage. But so far, so good on either side, and we're already seeing a very different game plan from Maru here in TVT compared to Innovation, getting down that 3rd CC very quickly, and I dare say we'll see the exact same thing from HeRoMaRinE on his side of the map too.
You know what I think is really funny about the pacing of TVT is where it often starts up with like, oh, let's make something happen. Let's try to get a little economic lead, or let's try to win that early skirmish. And then it's like, oh, you are like as powerful as I am. That means that I can't do anything for the next 4 minutes. And you guys like, yeah, agreed.
I love that your Terran just turned into Big Gabe all of a sudden.
Well, this was Maru talking to Gabe. And now they're just going to sit there for a while and they're going to build up Ravens. And it almost rewards the player to not do anything, because obviously defender's advantage is a real big thing. You want to make sure that you know what's happening on the other side of the map in case Maru does something wild like play Mac, or doesn't build a third command center early on. You want to be aware of these things, but we can see on the production tab none of those things are happening. I don't think that Gabe is really expecting anything to like that to happen either. So I feel like we basically have this little chill period of like 2.5 minutes until all the upgrades come online.
We do have a chill period, but I've been looking at this production tab. HeRoMaRinE, that third base is so damn late. Is that a third Raven finished as well? And I mean, Maru has actually produced his double engineering bay already and his third's finished. Big Gabe has to do something with this or, you know, kind of bully Maru around a little bit. Because right now, time is kind of on Maru's side. Even though he's got kind of similar unit count, you can see that he's behind in supply. That's a lot of tech advantage and also economic advantage.
To all the non-Terran players out there, Benjamin, why did Maru crawl ahead? Because it doesn't feel like his opening really worked out. The proxy didn't do any damage. The trade was just a genuine trade. Is it just that HeRoMaRinE built that command center later? Is that the only difference in this game?
So that definitely goes in Maru's favor, that the CC, like, he played a little bit scared, right? And then it was like, okay, he's doing the proxy marauder strat. Turns out, no, he wasn't. He went out of that very, very quickly. It felt like HeRoMaRinE was just showing a lot of respect to Maru. And it isn't like, oh my god, he's dead now. What it's more like is, HeRoMaRinE respected him and knows that he can play later into this game. He didn't have to do anything wily, didn't take any risks. I do still think this is fairly damn close.
It is fairly damn close, but then you look at these, indeed, the eBay upgrades.
Like that's massive.
Man, the eBays of HeRoMaRinE only halfway done, while the upgrades of Maru are already halfway done. And I'm trying to figure out, obviously Maru is great. We're trying to pinpoint the Maru magic here. Is this Gabe maybe playing overly safe and kind of shooting himself in the foot? Too much respect for his opponent, perhaps?
I think a little bit. And we all know that Maru can be a little bit crazy, but in this matchup specifically, he's been so patient. If we have a quick look at the unit counting tab, what's the Marine count at? Yeah, so Maru completely skipped out on Marines here with the 3 versus the 12. And, you know, he completely cut out that 400 minerals, got up the third much, much, much faster. So he ekes out a little lead like that. And look at that worker count as well, 65 to 55. Maru's not joking around.
No, obviously that orbital just being up and running a lot quicker, while the one of Gabe still had to fly around a little bit. All of these things are going to add up. And it does feel that, in my mind, it should have been an alright game for HeRoMaRinE, because he scouted well early on. He knew what he was facing, did not take any damage of the proxy. While every proxy is always an investment, because you send an SCV early to the other side of the map. Yet it does feel like Maru is actually creating a pretty decent advantage for himself. I think that's a little bit of a shame if you're on Team HeRoMaRinE, where it's like, why are we a bit behind when we shouldn't have been behind?
No, absolutely, absolutely. That's the kind of the power of some of these proxy plays from Maru as well. It's like, what am I actually up against? And HeRoMaRinE read it very well too, with how he went about the bunker and stuff, but you know, sometimes it just works out like this. We are going into a 4-base situation here in this TVT. We've got 2-2 on the way from Maru, quite a bit faster. Combat Shields is finishing faster. But it looks like they're both just not about pushing out. They're both like, okay, I'm in a decent spot if this game goes on, and they're both correct about it. And until Combat Shields finishes for Maru, running out is always a risky move, given that those tanks will one-shot Marines if they stim.
Well, we said it at the 5-minute mark. This is often where there is a little bit of a chill period in TVT. We're now going to start fighting over vision as Maru steams forward, grabs the Cyclone, grabs a couple of SCVs. A little battle in the center of the map between 2 Marines and a Reaper. This is where Maru is going to start looking for openings, and it is really important for HeRoMaRinE that his units are in the correct defensive positions. Because Maru, all he needs is a little opening, and he runs away with it.
Absolutely. Ravens can absolutely crack open a siege line here, there, and everywhere. 2 Ravens means he can get rid of 4 tanks out of a fight. So HeRoMaRinE has to be careful here, because his 4th base is a little bit quicker than Maru's. I know it's not much, but we always have this kind of little leapfrog technique going on. And right now, even though Maru's upgrades are ahead, and yet again, if they take a fight, this is about as even as it's going to be.
As a player, it's obviously really hard to figure out like how far ahead you are in upgrades, because you click on a Marine when you see one, but you don't know if the 2-2 just started or if the 1-1 finished up minutes ago. Do you think that Maru has the feeling that he is going to be ahead on upgrades? And do you think that he can push the issue when he's got the 2-2 upgrades against the 1-1 of HeRoMaRinE?
Or at least suffocate his opponent a little bit. But yeah, I think he definitely does. The way that he went into double eBay on like the 3 Marines and the very quick 3rd CC, he knows that he played the greedier game here and got away with it. And HeRoMaRinE, I wouldn't be surprised if he just stays put for a very, very long time, because he doesn't need to do anything. Like, defender's advantage is no joke in this matchup.
This is kind of classic Gabe. Like, I forgot who it was, but a while ago I casted a game with HeRoMaRinE. Ooh, as HeRoMaRinE is moving out to the zone, Naga Watchstar. Feels like he can actually take this fight. Lands a good anti-armor missile. Maru disengages, also lands his own anti-armor missile. Maybe not as good, but quite decent. Basically, Gabe was making fun of how defensive and passive Sol was playing and he wasn't doing anything. And I had 2 European pro gamers DM me of 2 different races. It's like, well, that's very rich coming from HeRoMaRinE. Yeah. Because that's all he does every game.
Yeah, HeRoMaRinE actually, I kind of watched his matchups for a little bit because I was like, how does this guy always get so far ahead? And he was doing the thing where he just sits back and waits for you to attack and what have you. But then he'll mock other people for doing the exact same thing, like, oh, I'm tired of TVT, everybody's so defensive. And it's like, Gabe, that is you! That is you!
Still little battles happening over vision. Maru not really on point with starting those 3-3 upgrades, by the way. Maybe a bit too focused on trying to get a fight happening when he had 2-2 against the 2-2 of Gabe. But that upgrade advantage is really starting to disappear. Maru is going to do the Maru thing, though, where he is not going to rush into Liberators with advanced ballistics. He rushes into all the Ravens. And I gotta say, Ben, I always have a really hard time watching these games because I'm like, I don't know who's winning. Sometimes the Ravens look godlike, but then the other guy remaxes on 80 Marines, and then Marines step forward and they kill all the Ravens and the Vikings. I'm like, well, maybe we should have just made Marines and Liberators.
Absolutely can happen. This outpost on the left side that Maru was setting up is kind of getting punished, but the few tanks that Maru has are definitely dealing a lot of damage. And Maru getting on top of this army over here and will maybe cancel these CCs. Oh, geez, these are some well-placed siege tanks from Big Game.
Yep, Maru did not know apparently about those 2 tanks on the left. They got a couple of big shots off. I think if Maru would have known immediately, he could have actually run towards those tanks. Then he probably finds himself near a mineral line too. You guys can see Maru losing 27 Marines, but apparently Gabe losing
30.
Yeah, or the other way around. Actually, it's Gabe who killed 30, and then Maru killed 27.
It's always confusing, that battle report. But
yeah, because they switch it compared to the regular units L.
Yeah, you're asking earlier about, like, what does Maru do with this slight advantage? I think he's doing this really cool, actually. These outposts that he's setting up while taking a 5th and 6th simultaneously. And what's his gas income at? Like, he went straight in. Look how much gas he's mining in this matchup. Jeez, really prioritizing it. And he's getting double upgrades with the armory as well, which that is absurd. So Maru absolutely looking for that super duper duper late game composition, getting command centers, getting PFs. This is the kind of Maru that I love to see. We saw it a little bit in the Zest matchup earlier, but yeah, this is going to be kind of scary going into this match.
What do you think is the best game plan for HeRoMaRinE, knowing what he's going up against? Because he knows that there is going to be a lot of Raven energy on the side of Maru. The Viking number is going to be very important. Liberator is going to help. That's a really good anti-armor missile by Gabe. But I still don't know if he has the right numbers. It seems like he kind of does. Not a bad trade here by our German Terran.
No, he's definitely bullying a good location here. Now he can sweep on by and actually take out that 5th/6th base of Maru. And this is actually getting a little bit tricky. Maru, he kind of looks like he's splitting up for a counterattack as well at the same time.
Yep, so it seems like Maru is okay with giving up at least 1 base, potentially, or he expected his army to go home, but that would have been real bizarre. Yeah, Maru decides to turn around. Now he actually super indecisive, man. Look at the minimap. That army went down, it came back up, and now it's going down again.
Yeah, there's so many Ravens in the mix, by the way, for Maru. Like, this game goes on, the energy of those Ravens just keeps on building up 7 versus 1. Even if you do have like 4 or so siege tanks defending, they can all get eliminated.
Yeah, HeRoMaRinE does have advanced ballistics now on his Liberators. It's obviously something that can make a very big difference, makes it a little bit easier to push back certain tank lines. Maru just end up losing a single base by the looks of it. Gabe looks at that army and feels like he can potentially fight. That Raven count is climbing rapidly. 4 Ravens at a time being produced. We already have 9 on the map. I gotta say that if you look at the maxed out army of 7 Vikings, 11 tanks, and 10 Ravens, that doesn't feel like an invincible army to me.
It doesn't, but it depends on how you use it, right, Kevin? And here we have big anti-armor missile. Oh my god, so many interference matrix. Only 1 tank remaining, and Maru is swarming the army of HeRoMaRinE here.
Yep, it may not look that impressive on paper, but if you execute the spells of the Ravens like this, well, then it becomes a very powerful army. That wasn't even a battle, that was a sweep almost. Maru really not losing all that much other than energy. Able to pick off a lot of the tanks off Gabe. Gabe does feel like he needs to keep this base alive. He still has decent Viking numbers. Another tank does get affected by the interference matrix, and my goodness. You wonder how powerful the Raven really is in TVT. I think this game is a pretty good example.
Yeah, he's doing such a good job of keeping them alive too. And that gas number, the gas that he was mining earlier, it's so hard to fight against that. Yeah, Gabe has the air control, but he doesn't have the tank control, which is a massive deal. This is a really weird entry for Maru to go about, but I love the way that he's handling this.
Look at the minimap, by the way. Maru, during all of this, expanding in the top left and the bottom right. That's almost disrespectful.
I mean, I've been blocked on BNet for doing something very similar. But yeah, this is crazy play by Maru. The fact that he's able to do all this so perfectly while macroing so big behind it, this is incredible TVT.
Well, HeRoMaRinE has been able to remake a couple of these Liberators he lost, so he's going to be able to push the tank line back a bit too. I think there might be some lip harass happening at the same time. Maru losing a few Marines. I still like HeRoMaRiNE's army on paper, but yeah, Maru did definitely just display how powerful those Ravens really are. But this is also an army that Maru really can't make any boo-boos with. One tank is derping there, it's going to get picked off. The other tank was obviously affected by interference matrix. It went down and the final tank fell too. And Maru obviously shouldn't have too many issues maxing out again, but I do feel that Maru plays a dangerous game because it's such a weird army that he's working with. And I know he's done it time and time again in the GSL. We've seen a million games, I think, on Death Aura in particular, where Maru makes his composition just look invincible. But it always makes me a little uncomfortable, man.
It does, but I feel that HeRoMaRinE, while he's having to fight to get across the map, HeRoMaRinE can just, or rather, Maru can just move around and be like, okay, I'm going to attack you over here and kill a base. Yeah. It feels like it's far more less effort for him. But these Liberators, HeRoMaRiNE's utilizing them really well.
Maru might actually have to pick up those Marines and just get the hell out of there, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because the Liberators coming in from both angles. A few tanks left behind. Well, get the hell out of there. More like get the hell into the main base of HeRoMaRinE by the looks of it. I did not expect this play. It's a couple of Marines, a few tanks. The Vikings are going to get on top of the Vikings and the Ravens of Maru, though. So even though Maru might deal some damage, the Liberators are completely obliterating the drop. Maru's dropping a lot of supply real quick, and he's not getting a whole lot in return, Benjamin.
This actually went way better for HeRoMaRinE than I ever thought it would. And Maru does keep alive a lot of his Ravens, but these Ravens, they're not really getting the game-winning move at all. And I think HeRoMaRiNE's fighting back incredibly strong here. And even though base-wise, I'd give Maru the edge, HeRoMaRiNE's got a way stronger army, man.
I thought that was really cool how he used the Liberators and he set up on both paths and he just kind of made the little corner of Maru closer. Gave me some serious Dunkirk vibes, like here are the libs, you guys better get the hell out of there. And I felt that Maru could have escaped without too many issues towards the top left, but he went for the big drop in the main base instead and then wasn't sure if he wanted to bring the Ravens along or not. In the end, he was a little indecisive for the second time this game. Lost a lot, but no man overboard yet for Maru. Because you guys can see the right side of the map. I mean, Maru has just been taking each and every single base that was not taken yet.
That's the scariest part for HeRoMaRiNE. Like, he's down to 4 bases here. He's going to lose this 5th on the right side. I know he's re-expanding to the left, but to take out all the bases of Maru, he's just expanded like a plague. And he's down in supply a little bit, but he's still very, very hard. Like, for Gabe to get really back into this, he has to cut the head off the Hydra.
Yep, maybe try to get in top of the main base and try to at least take down a couple of these starports. Seems like HeRoMaRiNE has turned around after once more just losing a base already. Is he going to lose that orbital too? It's probably going to burn down. Yep, nothing to repair it there. At the same time, HeRoMaRiNE is trying to fight back a little bit. Maru is actually getting Marines on top of these tanks because these tanks were right-clicked on the planetary fortress. Yeah, it feels that HeRoMaRiNE really wants to fight. And Maru's like, no, I'm just going to keep running around. I'm just going to keep poking and prodding. And every single time that you want to commit to something, I'll commit a little bit more to the stuff on your side of the map. And all these trades are good trades because Maru just has more bases.
Absolutely, and he's able to move around so much more freely. I don't think HeRoMaRiNE even knows about that bottom right base there, Kevin, because that's absolutely not on his side of the map. There is a big engagement going down, lots of interference matrix. The Liberators rendered useless here, but the Vikings are reigning supreme in the skies. Lots of Ravens being taken down, so many more Marines for Maru. I think Maru is getting an edge, but oh, holy crap, what a mess of a fight, and GG, Maru does take it.
It's insane, man. You look at 10, 11 Vikings, 10 Ravens, and a couple of Marines and Medevacs, and it's like, I think you're playing a dangerous game. But it's like, I know he's done it before, but you still always feel there should be this moment where Ravens derp a little bit, or the spells don't necessarily go off on the right time. But geez Louise, Ravens in the hands of this boy is one hell of a wombo combo. I don't think HeRoMaRinE played a bad game at all.
No,
this is Maru doing Maru things.
Yeah, and like, they both went about it in different ways. And I love that Maru, he did get the lead, but it almost felt like HeRoMaRinE was playing very respectful, but rightly so. I think you always have to respect your opponent, not fear them. He wasn't scared. He got to a decent situation in the game, and it actually showcased that he can go toe-to-toe. Loving that probe, eh? Missing Protoss already.
It took abuse earlier today.
It did. Some zombie not grub, or rather, zombie grub not loving over there, tossed into the sidelines. But yeah, the start of this game also, like Maru going for that proxy single barracks and maybe putting the fear of life in HeRoMaRinE a little bit, but I think HeRoMaRinE actually reacted really well. It's just this Raven usage was really clean, and I think HeRoMaRinE had to try and get to the heart of Maru, trying to get on top of the production stuff, because there's too many bases to take out.
What about just more Vikings, man?
More Vikings?
Yeah.
I mean, you already had a lot, right?
He had a lot, but it was always a fight.
That's true, that's true. It's tough, man. Like, when you see how effective the Ravens are, and you see that he didn't have one of them, it's almost like, maybe it's time, but...
Yeah, but it's a stylistic preference, right? Like, it's pretty obvious that HeRoMaRinE just prefers heading into the Liberators with the advanced ballistics. And it could be a map thing as well, where maybe on some maps, the Liberators and tanks are able to push the issue a little bit harder, and the Ravens don't have the freedom to roam around like they do on 2K.
You know what I'm thinking about here, too? It's like, there's going to be that one guy on Reddit or Team Liquid, right? It's like, what about Ghost, man? Just EMP that big block of Ravens, and if he's actually committing that hard to it, I remember that back in the day during the turret craft era, where it's like lots of turrets. That's actually really decent. Anyhow, getting into the second map of the series, spawning over in the top left-hand side, playing for Team Mousebots, it is HeRoMaRinE.
And that, of course, means that in the bottom right side of Romanticide, we look at the main base, the man who said, well, if I win my group, I want to make it to the semifinals at least. This is Maru. I love that. It's a really bold prediction, Ben.
Bold prediction, mate. Bold prediction.
Won the group. He's like, you know what? Then I do want to win at least one round in the playoffs.
He's really hopeful, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, I'm so happy that Maru, like, you know how I like to think you can imprint yourself on a game? I feel that Maru's gameplay is total opposite to his personality, right? Like, it's feisty, it's fierce, it's exciting. And he's just like, oh, yeah. I hope I win.
What does it say about Gabe, Ben?
I have no idea, man. I feel that his gameplay is kind of like him, actually, just solid and big.
Romanticide is obviously the one map where I think we've seen a lot of talent. Like, if this would be a Monday night, Ben, I'd be like, all right, poke me when Clem and Gabe are 17 minutes in and they're both on 5 bases and they're getting close to max out. And tell me who's got 2 Vikings more than the other guy, because then I know who's probably going to win the game. I don't know if games are going to play out like that with Maru, because Maru does have the ability to really switch up the tempo and keep HeRoMaRinE guessing. Like, he's kind of doing it. This is nothing, obviously. But if Gabe doesn't scout it, it'd be really freaking annoying. Let's hope this SCV does check out the top right side. I mean, this is where most people get nidus. Oh, Gabe.
Oh, this...
To the right. Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's very, very fortunate. Like, I'd have already been panicking a little bit, putting up, like, getting ready to put up a bunker or two, but that was actually super damn important for HeRoMaRinE. Now he doesn't have to overreact or anything. And Maru, he hasn't been scouting once with an SCV this series, right?
Nope. I mean, to be fair, last game he opened up with a proxy barracks, so in a way that's going to be his scout, right?
Sure, sure. It's just, I do know that we in the European scene do know that HeRoMaRinE doesn't tend to like all these proxy Rex plays, right? Yeah. Like, when he did it against the laser on Lightshade, it was a huge surprise for me to see him do that. So, do you think Maru's done any studying of HeRoMaRinE at all? Maybe
not too much studying, but I don't think it's crazy to assume that Maru checks out the occasional HeRoMaRinE against Clem. Because we don't live in a world anymore where HeRoMaRinE against Clem is irrelevant TVT compared to what's happening in the Korean scene, right? Sure, Maru, you know, obviously TY in the past, Beyond Bunny, they're all still absolutely, Dream Cure, of course, they're all still at the very top of the Terran scene. But Clem and HeRoMaRinE kind of belong in that list at this point, so I wouldn't be too surprised if Maru spends the occasional Monday evening watching a little bit of HeRoMaRinE versus Clem.
No, certainly, certainly. I like this by Maru, just sneaks across with 2 Reapers. We'll get at least 2 SCV kills here, maybe more as well. Nice mine usage as well, just keeping the Hellions away for a little bit longer, and 4 SCVs for his troubles.
That's a lot of SCV kills, I think. Like, obviously, if 2 Reapers are willing to commit, then you're most of the time gonna grab something. But I think 2 SCVs is already like, all right, this wasn't for nothing. 3 SCVs starts to become okay. 4 SCVs, I think, is a bit more than you could even hope for. But maybe HeRoMaRinE has the potential to find even more damage on the other side of the map, as he's going to show up with the 2 Hellions in the natural, and then the Reaper's going to up into the main base. There is a Cyclone. Benjamin, how many SCVs are going to fall?
Actually, I don't think any. Like, HeRoMaRiNE's respecting those Marines in the natural here. There are 4 there. And so far, if you're HeRoMaRiNE, you're going to be feeling like, wow, this guy's got everything covered. And I even saw it in HeRoMaRiNE's
face.
Yeah, he kind of leant to the side a little bit, like, wow, this guy. And this is when it can start getting to you, right? Like, really getting under your skin. Is this guy just way better than me? And I mean, we saw in the first game, no, HeRoMaRiNE, you absolutely have a chance here. But yeah, there's something where Maru's just getting little edges here and there.
Well, after the little early skirmish, that definitely went in favor of Maru this time. It does seem like we are just going to macro up, both players heading into the 3-base setup. And this is kind of what we came to expect from Romanticide at this point. Do not expect anything crazy to happen in the next 3-4 minutes. Obviously, it's important not to be supply blocked, but Maru's depots are finishing up. I'm sure he'll be fine. I do think this is the one perhaps downside of HeRoMaRiNE, because I don't want to like make up a story that we can't confirm where it's like, oh, Maru has been studying HeRoMaRiNE VODs.
Right.
But it doesn't take a lot of effort to find a couple of HeRoMaRiNE games. Gabe plays in so many online tournaments, obviously every single Monday, and since he's so good, he often has a deep run. It doesn't take you more than a minute to find a couple of very recent TVTs of HeRoMaRiNE of the last 2 weeks. And yeah, if Maru just opens up 5 games, and he sees in all 5 games like you SCV Scout, but you never proxy, means that I don't have to SCV Scout.
Yeah, and he's not going to be listening to what Big Gabe's saying either, where Big Gabe's saying, oh yeah, I never normally do this in tournaments, which we all know is a big lie. So he doesn't fall for those mind games either, and he's just like, oh, okay, does this very often. And to be fair, TVT, I don't want to say it's like a super linear matchup. I know Medivacs came into play far earlier, and there is a little bit of aggression going on now, but there is a very proper way of playing it that will get you into the mid-late game without suffering too many losses, and HeRoMaRiNE definitely doesn't skate too far away from that.
Gabe obviously needs to be paying attention with his Reapers and his Cyclones here, but he will. This is the first of 4 best of 5s that we will be showing you guys today. No Protoses, but we have a couple of great TVZs ahead of us. What to think of Innovation versus Scarlet, Time versus Rogue, and perhaps we save the best for last, Raynor versus Dream. That should be one hell of a series. Obviously, all of these guys have already won. I believe it is $3,000 for making it into the playoffs. And winning the quarterfinals means you pick up 1,500 extra bucks. And obviously a lot of EPT points. I think it's safe to say that most of the guys in the top 8 shouldn't struggle too much in making it to the Interrox Remasters Katowice next year. But it's nice to lock it up early.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this feels like the real first test of the season, right? Where we have the foreigners going up against the, I mean, Koreans, really. Every match in the top 8 is a Korean versus non-Korean, which is actually really, really cool to see.
Yeah, time is ours.
Time is ours. We're claiming him, all right?
Time is super cool as well, so it's totally cool.
Actually, it's very funny. Time is really cool when he turns up in his like $3,000 clothes. He's like, hey guys, we practiced StarCraft 2 today. Like, and then he does really damn freaking well.
Share an Uber with Time. He's like, hey Time, you be practicing. He looks at you, smiles. He's like, no, not at all. Then plays the best games you've ever seen him play. It's like, liar! Yeah, Time is awesome. All right, Sim is finishing up on both sides here. Both players at 60 SCVs. Sensor Tower going down for Gabe. Ben, is there anything that anyone could pull off on the Romanticide in this phase in the game that we haven't seen yet?
In this phase of the game? Yeah. Absolutely not. Not with how they both opened up. Like, there are players like Beyond that tend to skip the Wraithen usage a lot, and they don't want to go for the Vikings, so there'll be like a 4 Medivac Doom drop in the main or something. But these players, they're being very careful. Like, these little squadrons constantly skirting around, getting the sensor towers up, both getting their 4th bases. Like, I don't expect their main armies to actually leave their quadrant to the map for some time here. And this isn't necessarily just a TVT thing, it's also a style thing. And I do feel that these, Maru especially, actually, I think he's very good at being like, oh, you're going to do this style, I'm just going to do it better than you. Because that's what he did in the GSL Super Tournament against Special. He saw him play against Innovation and knock him out, and he's like, I'm just going to play mech against you, given that you're playing mech a lot right now. And he just did it better than Special. So going up against HeRoMaRinE when you know he's kind of, you know, going to do his turtly thing, I love it, man. I love the way that he approaches TVT.
Maru is going to end up losing that Cyclone. What's the name of that Pokemon again that could look at
Ditto?
Yeah?
No, I think it was Ditto.
So you think Maru is a Ditto?
I think Maru's a Ditto when it comes to TVT. Like, absolutely.
I think Gabe is a Charizard, though.
You think Gabe's a Charizard? I think he's a bit of a Snorlax.
Oh, no way.
Snorlax is powerful, man.
Yeah, I guess. I was always stuck on my Game Boy when you had to move Snorlax out of the way because he was sleeping.
Yeah, I was like, damn, where's my flute, baby?
I know. I was like, why can't I use the internet for cheat codes? 2 extra star points going up for Maru. I'm glad we had the same childhood, man.
Actually, I was like the kid that always went through the cave without getting the light thing, so I was like, screw that, I'm not giving Pikachu some crappy spell.
My first one was Pokemon Yellow, that's all I remember.
Oh no, you were like a second wave.
Nah, I know, Red and Blue came first, but
yeah,
Yellow
you were
was
a second wave.
No, Yellow was really close, come on.
It was pretty close,
Let me be part of the cool kids one time, but I never was, okay?
Okay, we got a nice little drop coming in from Maru here, and it's absolutely not being spotted. Big Gabe does have his rally right outside his natural base, so he will be able to react quite quickly, but this is always annoying to deal with. Oh, is he going to get the armory?
That'd be pretty rough, because I'm going to have to rebuild that thing real quick. +1 obviously going to get cancelled too. And look at that, he's going for the Juicy Depot. That counts as a double one. And Maru's just going to leave the Marines behind, which actually kind of like at the same time though, HeRoMaRinE is going to bounce on the third base of Maru. And Maru's like, you know what, I'm a little bit too far of position. Gabe needs to be so careful with his Marines. He's eating some real big shots there, Ben.
He is, but look at the supply. Like, he's ahead 30 from all of this. And I thought it was Maru going to be getting the damage done. I do like the fact that Maru kind of picked up, ran the SCVs away, only losing 4 after all that. But the thing is, with that kind of momentum in TVT, it doesn't mean you win the game instantly. And given that he did kill the armory as well, getting that +1, +2 is super important on tanks.
Look at this, Raven upgrade.
From both.
Corvid, what is it called again?
Corvid Reactor, is it?
No,
don't ask me about upgrades, Kevin. I have no idea.
The TLDRs at the Raven spawn with a little bit of extra energy. And I was wondering, what is going to stop Gabe from trying to do the same thing as Maru? Even though I felt that he's just a bit more of a tank liberator guy. But maybe if the late game Gabe might be looking at it like, wow, I actually felt like I had a decent setup. In the end, it was a one-sided affair. Maru won the game convincingly. You know what? I'm also going to believe in the Ravens. I kind of like the way that this is all going for Gabe, as he's the one dictating the pace, if you ask me. He's kind of in Maru's face. He's obviously not overcommitting here. He's not overstaying his welcome either. But he's letting Maru know that I'm here and the map is mine. Yeah,
big Gabe knocking at your door. You have to respect that knock because it comes with a mighty thud. One thing that he could do, maybe taking a page out of Maru's book, is just expanding a lot with all this kind of map pressure that he's putting on him, because that was really tricky to deal with for HeRoMaRinE last game, and it looks like that is what he is going for here, and I love the play.
Yeah, Corvid Reactor. Hey, we weren't that bad.
We weren't that bad. You know, it's almost like we know something, Kev.
Well, I'm not very good with upgrade names either, man. Circling speed, it will forever be. HeRoMaRinE kills one of his Marines there. I think this one was on purpose though, just to even out the supply, so he can queue up 2 more Vikings or Ravens behind this.
I do like this from both of them. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, okay. Even though this is going to get cancelled, I do love the fact that HeRoMaRinE is massively adapting to Maru's style here. Just taking bases faster, being kind of wily about it.
That's a sweet anti-armor miss, so obviously Maru was landing a pretty decent one too, but I still don't know if Maru can take that fight. It really does seem that HeRoMaRinE has a few more Marines than our Korean turn play does. Maru is forced to retreat.
Yeah, Big Gabe hasn't allowed Maru to do what he did the game before.
Why the hell did he just cancel that Orbital? I guess, does he want to make this a planetary?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. Like, planetaries, even though they can get taken out relatively easily, you still need like a good 30 supply, right, to go do it. So having those extra expansions just around the map, just meaning that, hey, I have it, and that's a point you have to get past to get to my production. It's just a nice safety position to have.
Take a look at the Viking counts real quick on both sides. Obviously, shout out to our Swedish dedicated observer, Njal, who's apparently sitting in an even hotter room than the studio that we are sitting in. I don't know if he's telling the truth, Ben, but I also don't want to confirm it.
I believe him, Kevin. I believe him. I went into that room and I was like, oh, geez, Njal, I don't know how you do it, but he's observing the whole day for us. Here, Big Gabe just kind of slowly posturing and being like, all right, I'm on the map, Maru. Like, I'm still here, I'm still here. He is catching up on the upgrades here, given that his armory was delayed earlier. And Maru's just expanding despite being under pressure. This is a much more mirrored game than the last one.
Yeah, I do kind of feel that Romanticide is a little bit of HeRoMaRiNE's stomping ground. Needs to be paying attention though. Felt like he was a little late to react there. Maru perhaps getting a few more shots off, because obviously it's important to get your Vikings get clumped up, then all of the Vikings shoot at once. But you also want to make sure that you don't have 18 Vikings shooting at one Viking of your opponent. I have to admit that I think these fights are really funny to micro. Now, I haven't built a whole lot of Vikings in my life as a Terran player, but I can imagine that it just becomes a bit awkward, because you want to make sure they all shoot, but you also want to make sure you don't shoot 20 missiles at a target that only needs 6 missiles to go down.
Absolutely. You see where they all stack them on one spot, right? Both of them do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, how many can I get in one go? Because if you've got a bit more of a concave with the Vikings, you tend to lose more in one volley than if they're on one spot. So it's a bit of a tricky micro situation how you go about it too.
HeRoMaRiNE casually getting a command center though. He's really making Maru work for it. Obviously it's been a pretty dead even game up to this point. Maru, his 3-3 upgrades are about to finish up. Both players are maxed out, more and more Vikings. This is going to be a very chaotic fight. I mean, HeRoMaRiNE, a long time ago, came to the studio in Take TV, and he spoke about game-deciding fights. I feel like we have been building up, and I don't think the first fight is necessarily going to be the game-deciding fight, but these fights can definitely turn it into a bit of a wash if one player just gets the spells off a bit quicker than the other.
Absolutely, they can. And here, we do have Maru with a slight air advantage, I do believe. And Maru's the one that's kind of trying to get this corner of the map going, and HeRoMaRiNE's kind of fighting back a little bit here, but being very, very defensive about it.
It almost feels like both players are tempting the other guy to be very aggressive. It's like, hey man, if I were you, I'd really go for it. Because it's always a bit easier not to be the guy running into the player. Even if you have Ravens, and even if Interference Matrix is amazing, as Maru has been dropping quite a few of them, it does feel like Gabe is starting to get really, really tempted. But with that big anti-army missile landing on all his Vikings, it's like, you know what? I'll take it a second.
It's funny that it's just one tank that they're fighting over here with Interference Matrixes, but it does feel like Maru's bank is getting bigger a little bit quicker. So I don't know what he's doing behind all this, because Gabe's done a good job of just taking a lot of bases. But these trades, they seem like they are in Maru's favor here. Even if it's slight, it's very little.
Oh, the Marines a little bit excuse the Marines are very close to the Vikings. I have the feeling that this was not the engagement HeRoMaRiNE was waiting for. That's why he's gonna pull back, and maybe he can bait Maru into overstaying his welcome. It didn't really quite work out for HeRoMaRiNE. The Vikings were way too exposed to the Marines on the top right side.
Yeah, I think HeRoMaRiNE did not see that flank from the top there from the Marines, and here...
Battle cruisers.
Yeah, battle cruisers. That's going to be cool. I mean, maybe in these big fights they're not a big deal, but they're getting round. Nice auto turrets. Might be able to take out 2 tanks. No, just one here. HeRoMaRiNE did react rather quickly.
Maru feels like a wall. He just can't break down.
Yeah, and he's so patient about all this too. Like, they're fighting over like a screen, but they're both fighting so hard. HeRoMaRiNE kind of breaking out of this hold though. That's a really big deal for him. Now he has a little bit of time to breathe, recoup, and see what he wants to do with the situation.
Used a lot of energy there though at the tail end of that entire fight to finally push Maru back a little bit. I feel like very recently I saw Maru play a TVT that was quite similar to this one, and he was just playing better. Then he was transitioning into Battlecruise, and I actually feel like he made it a bit harder on himself than it had to be. And he was very close to almost losing the game. But then in the end, he still managed to get up to 8 to 10 BCs, and that's obviously good enough. Because these battle cruisers are not your 0-0 battle cruisers you sometimes rush out against a Zerg. No, these are very tanky, very feisty battle cruisers.
By the way, we talked about how HeRoMaRiNE was ahead in expansions not too long ago. Those fights that were happening in the top there,
yeah.
Maru made sure work of just absorbing the rest of the map. We're getting onto like a 7 base versus 8 base situation kind of on Romanticide. And yeah, I don't think HeRoMaRiNE knows about this battlecruiser transition that's happening, but he will find out very shortly.
Yep. There is a command center that's casually floating to the bottom left side. It's like, oh my goodness, these Vikings look real big from afar.
They are definitely the big boys of the sky. And 2-2 is finishing up for these air units for Maru. And Maru, he's not giving up at the top either, so 2 different fights happening on different sides of the map.
Nice. I actually like that Maru was able to bring a couple of Marines to the bottom left side too, just to provide some extra DPS. Make sure you get that kill on the command center before it flies home above all the turrets. Gabe is immediately responding with 10 missile turrets, most of them going down here in the bottom left side. What do you make of that, Ben?
I like the missile turrets, because these battle cruisers obviously want to get on top of the bases and deal with the SCVs because they're not necessarily the best battle unit. It's a nice little drop from Maru, does take out a couple of tanks. That does allow him to have that as an opening. And this, they're both going about this in really cool ways. Is Gabe going on top of that? He is. This is actually really cool, but there are Ravens here, and going into this, it's going to be very tricky. Nice auto turret usage as well. Yep. Beautiful by Maru.
It's almost like the auto turrets are force fields that can also fight back. I like the way that Maru is using them.
And he's got the building armor upgrade as well, which actually benefits those turrets, I do believe. So they're even stockier than they were before.
Funky boys.
Oh, this is really tough now because it feels like Maru's just getting more and more into his comfort zone. 5 BCs at once. Like, what? Okay, can we have a quick look at the army value? Because the army value of Maru, like, that's going to grow up by, like, almost 2k gas very soon. Whereas HeRoMaRiNE's pumping a lot of minerals into those Marines. But those Marines, they don't really cut it against these BCs, I'm afraid. Yeah, look at the Marine count for Maru. It's down to 1 here.
41 Marines against 1. Obviously, if Gabe can find that lucky fight where these Marines are able to get in range of the Vikings and the tanks, or even underneath battle cruisers, if there are no tanks protecting these sky units, the Marines can still be very effective. Even though Marines, obviously, against battle cruisers with this much armor, yeah, it's going to take a little while, but at the end of the day, a Marine is a Marine. And if there are no tanks wailing away at them, I think they have a chance. Yeah, anti-armor missile and very high BC count could actually just be good enough.
I dare say the upgrades are going to come into it as well in the air battle. Like, +1 ship weapons is only just finishing for HeRoMaRiNE. He really neglected those air upgrades. He is going to take out this top right base, most likely. And how is Maru going to respond here?
He obviously did lose the armor early on. Let's not forget about that.
That is true, that is true. A little bit of a BC run by here in this base, taking out all the turrets to the far left of HeRoMaRiNE.
Flyby.
True flyby here. This is bringing in the fleet for sure.
A lot of SCVs going down and trying to save this planetary. Look at the DPS. Jeez Louise. These battle cruisers indeed do pack one hell of a punch. This planetary is going to fall. We have a couple of, I think, interference matrices tried to go down, but Maru jumped out in time.
Yeah. As it's in the air, if you do blink out of it or teleport out of it, it will go off, but you still get the teleport going. This is a true air armada. What? So you got the golden armada, obviously. What's the Terran one?
Yeah, the fleet.
The fleet? Oh, you guys get the cool name. This is cool. HeRoMaRiNE's army is bigger, just because he's got less SCVs, which is kind of how you go when you get a lot of orbitals. But man, this air army from Maru is humongous.
Yep, and he's got a bank behind all of it too. That's the scariest part. So it's not like, oh, Maru's got a powerful army, but he needs to win the fight immediately, or he's in trouble. He still has 5 tanks. I do think I want to say it's kind of important, but how quick do the Marines melt if an anti-armor missile goes up on top of them and battle cruisers shoot at them?
Really fast, especially with all the turrets. There is one thing that I kind of didn't think about, though. It's 19 Ravens for HeRoMaRiNE, and that's only 9.
So you can disable the entire army, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's Big Gabe's game plan here. He can't get too carried away with the turrets, but that is the one advantage he has, this Raven count.
So a lot of Ravens on the side of our German Terran. Really wants to get this planetary. Is getting awfully close to making sure it does go down, and another base does fall. Is this the moment that HeRoMaRiNE is going to go for all the interference matrices, or just a couple of anti-armor missiles? It's not going to be good enough, Gabe.
No, I think he used most of his energy there, and he's like, okay, I need to get back here. I got the damage done, right? But the thing is, these BCs, every time they Yamato and they're not getting picked off, that's just free damage.
I don't think a single BC has been picked off so far.
I don't think so either, Kev. And he's actually remaxing on more Ravens and Vikings, so really going for the air control here. This is truly a masterclass in TVT.
Maru is so quick in dropping that anti-armor missile always. There goes the first battle cruiser. Good Viking control here by HeRoMaRiNE, and he still feels confident that he can win this battle in the skies.
It's such a messy game for both of them, because if you go into a fight as HeRoMaRiNE and you get annihilated, he has no bank to speak of. Yes, he's got a lot of gas and he's getting even more Ravens and such, but it's tricky because Maru, he's been on his side of the map and he's actually got all the bases on his side now. HeRoMaRiNE, I don't know how he's going to get that bottom left base, which is going to become pivotal at some point.
HeRoMaRiNE does, of course, have less SCVs, which means he's going to have a slightly bigger army. You guys can see he's not even maxed out yet, and he already has 153 army supply, while it's only 138 on the side of Maru. But it's quality 138, that's for sure.
Yeah, can we have a look at the army value and yet again for these guys? Because Yeah, that's... I mean, it's still closer than I thought, but I suppose that's a lot of the Ravens as well.
And it's just that HeRoMaRiNE's army is bigger.
Yeah, yeah. But that just shows you, right? That is a quality army from Maru. It doesn't get much better in TVT.
I think Maru's having fun.
You think so?
I think so.
I think this is... Yeah, I think he's having a whirl of a time.
Yeah.
I think they're both showing a lot of respect to their opposition, though. Like, you don't often play a TVT like this. And HeRoMaRiNE, if he was thinking like, oh, these Terrans are so defensive, well, this is it's not going to be pretty for him.
Gabe's going to try to take out another base in the top right side. Seems like Maru is a bit out of position. So there comes actually Maru's Sky Terran army. Maru is going to land another very big anti-armor missile. That's connected with each and every single Viking. And there's a good chance that Maru feels confident enough now to continue fighting. What the BC's up to, Ben?
I think they're over to the... Yeah, so they're going over to the left here. They are good with the Yamatos, obviously. Oh, HeRoMaRiNE gets the scan on there, so he gets to see exactly where those units are. But the thing is, if all the air comes over here, there is the massive opportunity that he just blinks over to the right side.
Maru doesn't have a lot of tanks, but I still feel like we see a lot of very big tank shots happening as a few more Marines go down. This Orbitor is in a lot of trouble, and it does fall. One interference matrix went off on time, and his one BC saw all his friends leave. And it's going to fall, but obviously a decent pick off by Maru. 8 SCVs, pulling the entire army out of position, getting another orbital. To me, it really does feel that Maru is having a mighty fine time. And he's sitting there in Korea and he's mumbling to himself, this is StarCraft. He's loving it.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at this. Like, you know, my friends told me to play it and thought I'd give it a go. Turns out maybe one of the best Terrans that's ever lived, but even trying to take this bottom left base, but HeRoMaRiNE isn't going to let that happen for free or easily. Oof, it's a toughie.
We have seen a couple of very long games already of Maru in this tournament, but it seems like he's very complacent in those games where he's like, I know exactly what to do. He's not stressed out. He doesn't push the issue any harder than he needs to. But in the past, we've seen Maru show up at a couple of these cross-server events where it felt like he wanted to win every game in 9 minutes or he didn't really care. No, it feels like he's just having the time of his life in the macro games in this one.
Absolutely. Look how many turrets are going down for Maru as well. The trades... pretty decent for Maru, but HeRoMaRiNE is pushing ahead. Where are the BCs? Maru's army is missing. The BCs are dealing damage in the top, and HeRoMaRiNE, even though he's pushing forward, it feels like he might be getting a little bit impatient here.
Yeah, I almost feel that Maru is confident enough that he doesn't even need these battle cruisers to at least get good trades and survive on his side of the map. He still has plenty of Vikings, 19 of them in total. Not too many Ravens left on the side of Maru, and that is something to keep in mind. Because HeRoMaRiNE, I would actually like to see Gabe just build nothing but Marines now, Ben. I know it sounds silly, but if you have 23 Ravens, just try to interference every single big unit there is out there, and Marines can push the issue a bit faster than any other Terran unit.
Yeah, the thing is, Kev, I haven't seen his minerals move for like a few seconds here, so he's absolutely not mining that much. It's now or never for HeRoMaRiNE. He's really, really struggling here. He is taking a fight. The BCs are coming to join in from the north as well, but he's playing it patiently as Maru. I think he knows he's got a good grip on the game.
Gabe should still have a couple of orbitals left, though. He can spam a couple of mules. Can we take a look on the left side? Yeah, okay, we have a few mules landing. He's floating a commence into the bottom left. 20 SCVs is obviously not a very pretty foresight. He's still making 4 more Ravens. HeRoMaRiNE is going to be over 30 Ravens or something. I mean, auto turrets and interference matrix for days. I don't know if this is a fight, though. I don't think HeRoMaRiNE really has the numbers yet. Tactical jump being used for HeRoMaRiNE. Excuse me, for Maru as he gets the heart of them. Maybe there was a very good fight in the end, because now Gabe actually takes out another base.
I think that was all right for him, you know? Like, he got the turrets down first, which was an absolutely huge deal, and he's really pushing the issue here. He feels he has Maru on the ropes, and maybe he does. Maru doesn't really have that many tanks to deal with the Marines, but even if he did, there's so many Ravens for HeRoMaRiNE.
Even Maru is making some Marines now. I guess he just wants to get his hands on as many units as possible, as quickly as possible. Where then BC's at, I think they're just moving out again in the top side, trying to pick off another kill. Maru is very confident in counterattacking while he's under a lot of pressure, an immense amount of pressure, because this is an army in his natural bend.
It's a scary army too. Like, these Ravens are no joke whatsoever. That's a lot of turrets going down for HeRoMaRiNE. Interference matrix on the tanks. The Marines are reigning pretty damn strong, helping out in the airfight, but both their supply is absolutely plummeting. There's a few tanks in the back, though, that are helping out so damn much.
Yep, well, we do have a few more interference matrices going down, so now HeRoMaRiNE actually has some Marines on top of the production of Maru. And maybe Maru has made a small boo-boo in just never using these battle cruisers. They're still having a jolly good time on the other side of the map. It's like, all right, if you're on top of my production, I'm going to get on top of yours. Maybe we pick up another orbital, a couple of depots, a couple of add-ons. I'd like to see them fight eventually.
I mean, I'd like to see them fight too, but I do feel that Maru's still in a good spot. He was already rebuilding a lot of stuff in the top right, and we see that now getting so many barracks. That's a lot of starports that he's already accumulated.
Wow.
So he was absolutely more than ready for this airfight, but 26 Ravens still alive versus 0. I'm actually a little bit worried for Maru now, because those battlecruisers, if they all get matrixed, they're sitting ducks.
Yep, but he is going to have way more Vikings than Gabe will have though. Like, Maru already has a 24. Can Maru just be active with the Vikings now already and look for pickups?
I think so.
And how the hell is an army of HeRoMaRinE supposed to safely make it to the top right side of the map while there are 24 Vikings looking to beat up this very injured army already?
And like that number's going to...
There you go.
It's going to keep increasing as well.
Yep.
And we do see Maru sharking a little bit, but again, just being so patient, right? I guess he feels like he doesn't need to. And that's how he's been playing the whole series so far. He doesn't need to make the moves. He needs to let HeRoMaRinE come to him, and so far it's been playing out very well for him, but so annoying if you're the German player.
And obviously a bit hard as well. Like, we see the numbers, we're like, hey Maru, you got 10 more Vikings. But I think for Maru that's maybe a little bit harder, because you look at that and it's like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. How many Ravens, how many Vikings? It's a big blob of Terran stuff in the sky, but you don't know exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah, it's super true. I mean, it is deceiving here, but I love that Maru's going for like every orbital and just kind of killing HeRoMaRinE from the inside here with these BCs and just making sure that he doesn't get caught off guard. There's so many scans on the minimap, by the way, for these two players.
And I can't believe that the BCs, they actually do so well against buildings.
I mean, they are 3-3 BCs.
Yep.
That is a pretty chunky unit to be dealing with. And Maru, you see that he is trying to do damage to this air fleet. 33 Vikings.
Positioning of Gabe has been really good. I did not expect him to make it to the top right with his Vikings and his Ravens without losing quite a few of them.
No, he's done really good. Really good, actually. And he's been utilizing his Ravens very well. To say that we thought maybe it wasn't a stylistic choice for him, he's been making it known that he is very good with them.
I feel like we are entering the final countdown. I think that these bad boys are about ready to jump home. They're going to take out this orb to the top left side, and then I think it's time to take a look at this army, because I have the feeling that the fleet is ready for a tactical jump to close this one out in style.
Oh, do you think he goes for it though? Like, if you see them come on top of you, like the battlecruisers, you just plant down so many turrets.
Yeah, but look at how much stuff Maru has.
I know, dude, I know, but that supply's growing, and he's getting so many more Marines. I think he's just having fun.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, what's more fun than ending the game with a tactical jump on your opponent's army?
Making your opponent feel hopeless as hell, Kevin, that what?
That's just mean. I don't think that's fun.
Oh, now he could blink. Now he can teleport over. Yeah, absolutely. Takes out that army, and I wouldn't be surprised if HeRoMaRinE GG's here, even if it's not about these units.
I think you will see the amount of Vikings. I think maybe you still kind of believe, because you have 25 Ravens, and that scenario that you portrayed earlier where, like, yeah, battlecruisers are amazing, but if all of them get interference matrix, they are just sitting ducks. There is still the tiny bit of hope that HeRoMaRinE can get that fight for Gabe. But obviously, if he knew what we would know, looking at all the numbers, looking at the state of this game, I think HeRoMaRinE would also know that that's going to be borderline impossible.
Yeah, even if you're playing Archon mode with 4 people, utilizing those Ravens correctly, that'd be tricky, right? Getting down that amount of turrets. I know rapid fire is a thing, but oh, it's going to be very, very difficult.
I mean, the Marine count is just already a very big problem, because HeRoMaRinE just lost his last 3 remaining siege tanks. We didn't even really talk about it, because Maru has just been slowly but steady winning this game. He's like, hey, I'm 5% at, 10% at, and, you know, I'm 65% likely to win. And I think at this point we have reached the stage where Maru is 99.9% likely to win this game. And HeRoMaRinE is going to see the bad news that this army is still growing. Not only is it a good army, and look at Maru, even like fully repaired all of his units. This could very well be it, Benjamin.
Absolutely, so many Yamatos going off here. There was a lot of interference matrix as well, but there are just so many red Marines in orange. Lots of turrets do go down, which is really cool, but the air fleet is falling. It's disappearing for HeRoMaRinE, and there's just too much Maru at this point. The battlecruiser back in action, and GG. Maru takes a 2-0 lead.
A 32-minute game on the romantic side, even a little bit longer than most of those European TVTs we get treated to every single Monday night. This man is incredibly good at StarCraft, and that's something we've all known for a long time, but he's just so good at almost every aspect of the game. That's the most impressive thing, I guess, about Maru.
I think so, because like very often it'll be like, why don't Terrans just play like this? And he will do everything in the late game that I wish I could do. You know, it's very reminiscent of when we used to watch Serral play, or still sometimes feel like this about Serral, but never makes the wrong decision. It's always the right move at the right time. And even though he can land himself in a really dicey spot, I feel he'll do everything that he can when he's on song, when he's on form, to get himself well back into the game. In this game, you're talking about, hey, why does he take a fight now? Why doesn't he? It was kind of like he didn't really have to. And when he knows he's ahead, when he knows he's in a good situation, he played really damn well. We can't forget that it takes two to tango. It took HeRoMaRinE doing this to him to make the game happen like it did. But Maru, he just does TVT like nobody else does. Or maybe nobody else can.
Just gets a little bit further ahead with every single exchange that happened over the last like 12 minutes. It's like you take a base, I take a base, and 10 of your SCVs, and that kind of happened a few times in a row. That does mean that Maru takes the 2-0 lead in our very first quarterfinals of the day. We're gonna head into a very quick break, and after that we'll be back with Game 3 between the biggest of Gabes and Maru. It's not you, it's me. There we go. I believe that we are back. Poor Benjamin finally welcomes all of you guys back once after a break. Super muted.
Yeah, I did it quite nicely too. I was like, hello, friends and family, you know, StarCraft friends, as Maynard would say. But yeah, we're getting right on into it, and yet again, starting here on Oxide, Game 3 with Maru being 2-0 up, spawning in the top right. It is HeRoMaRiNE.
Poor Benny. In the bottom left side of Oxide, we're looking at the main base of our Korean Terran, who's just playing a stunning tournament so far. I don't want to say he hasn't been breaking a sweat, because he has, but he has looked close to flawless. This is Maru.
I like the way he approaches TVT, man. It feels very reminiscent of how Zergs would play against Terran, where they just want to absorb the map. And that's exactly what he does with, like, resource management, just getting up to a really good army, playing very defensive, letting the Terran come to him. It's just been beautiful to see, and we've seen it from him in TVP as well this tournament, on that romanticide game against Zest. He's obviously prepared very well for this and is coming at it with a very different style of Terran, and maybe every matchup we'll maybe get to see him in some TVZs later on if he does advance.
Yep. I looked at this bracket, and then obviously we're getting super far ahead of ourselves, and you don't want to do that too often. But I'm like, this could be a Maru versus Reynor Grand Finals. A best of 7. Both boys respect each other a lot, but also talk a little bit of smack in between the lines. When Maru at the IEM interview said that he didn't think Reynor was anywhere near as powerful as like Zero or Dark or something.
Oh, he said that?
Something among those lines. And Reynor was like, well, I'll show him. Obviously did win that nail-biter of a series, arguably the best of 5 we've seen this year. But we're not there yet. We've got a lot of StarCraft to play and a lot of very exciting best of 5s ahead of us today. I'm really looking forward to Time versus Rogue. I just watched Time the other week go up against Solar. That didn't quite work out in the playoffs of a different tournament. Let's see if he's been able to go back to this wrong board and make a couple of minor adjustments and be ready to face some of these strong Korean Zergs. And what to think of Scarlet versus Innovation? Former teammates, right? A long time ago?
Yeah, was it on Acer? I believe it was. I always will remember Scarlet talking to us at Home Story Cup where she was on about like, yeah, every time I've played Innovation recently, I beat him. And I was like, oh, really? And she was like, yeah, even though this is a long time ago, she was like, yeah, I'm 11-0 against him. I was like, oh, wow, so you think you're going to beat him? She's like, yeah, of course. And then they go into a tournament and Innovation 3-0s her. Like, so she has the confidence. And I mean, that was a long time ago, but I will never, ever forget that because she was so confident about beating Innovation at the time.
I mean, to be fair, I've also seen Scarlet stream Terran and beat Innovation in a TVT.
She did talk about it. She was like, I even beat him TVT. It's going to be easy for me.
I saw it.
It is beautiful to see it when players are a little, you know, eager. And also very, very confident, because you have to be confident in StarCraft.
Nah, you really have to be. Like, you can't really go in with a defeated mindset. I love how real Gabe is, and, you know, in a long time ago, I feel like I always had a similar approach, where it's like, in my mind, I can beat this guy. I don't think I can beat that guy. But it's very important that you don't convince yourself that you can't beat him, because if that's what's going to happen, well, there are always these little moments where sometimes you fully want to send it or not, but if you really think that your opponent is just a god, you're never going to fully send it. Well, this time Maru just gets in there in the natural, and he's like, you know what, if you're ready for it, you're ready for it. Seems like Maru wasn't quite ready for it, and HeRoMaRiNE off to, by far and away, I think the best start he's had, Benjamin, in all 3 games.
This is by far the best start. He was going for a tank build here, so he's a little bit greedy about it. He will get fended off here. Won't lose anything either. That's actually a big deal, but now he knows about the tank, and now he knows what he's going to be up against. Immediately starts up a Banshee, which is actually very good against that siege tank on the low ground. HeRoMaRiNE's more than prepared for this. I love this start from HeRoMaRiNE.
He's sending out the Cyclone. Is he going to get a very early lock on? The answer is yes. Does get the lock on immediately. Oh, a little bit of derpy micro there, though, by Gabe. He was ready for it. He saw it. He got the lock on he was looking for. But turns out Cyclones can go through mountains.
He certainly can't go through mountains, Kevin. Now we've got that tank in a rather gnarly position here. We'll be able to pick off the depot. Does have his own tank out and about, but that Cyclone loss is huge.
I wouldn't really sweat this, though, if I was Gabe. I'm like, really? You're shooting at my depot?
Yeah, it's not worrisome at all.
No.
It's not worrisome.
I was like, well, Ben, it is kind of a nice spot, but if I was Gabe, I wouldn't really be sweating this. I think in the end that still worked out quite well. Obviously, he didn't want to lose the Cyclone the way he did, but it's not like the tank was shooting at his reactor. That would be a bit worse, or if the starport or factory was in any danger of dying. No, I think HeRoMaRiNE survived that without really taking any damage.
I think that was a lot about the choice of getting the Banshee, though. Like, as soon as that Banshee showed up, it's like, oh, well, I can't stay here. And I mean, that's not a normal choice that you go for. This Reaper is getting more done than it should, but HeRoMaRinE is approaching the other side of the map now, and having that Banshee does make things a little bit awkward. We do have a Cyclone out for Maru, so we can shoot up at least.
Yeah, it's also important for Gabe that he has to keep in mind that Maru did save all those units. This is not one of these counterattacks where it's like, okay, I cleaned up what you sent to my side of the map. I don't think that HeRoMaRinE should really get a lot done here, because Maru even managed to save his medevac. Gabe throws down a scan now, and I think if you're very sharp, if you're Gabe, you have to be aware of the fact that medevac is probably heading towards your main base again. Because what he just saw there were tanks defensively positioned with a couple of Marines, but he didn't see that medevac, and he also knows he didn't kill it.
Yeah, HeRoMaRinE has started his third way later. I do like the way that he's poking about here, but that medevac in the main, you called it. It's going to get damage done, I do believe.
You look at the mini-map, you can see that Gabe is just sending more and more forces towards the bottom side, and I honestly think that's almost a bit sloppy. Gabe needs to be wary of these things. He knows that he didn't kill the medevac. He didn't see it at home. He didn't see it when he poked with the Raven and the Viking, and these are the kind of drops that can really find a lot of damage when they technically shouldn't have. Marines are going to run into the dead zone, I think. Yep, they're going to just drop on top of the tank. HeRoMaRinE is going to try to mass repair the hell out of this, but he's already taking a lot of damage, man. 5-6 SCVs go down, and it's going to actually go up over 10, I believe. Maru with some good target fire there in the end. A lot of lost mining time, and 10 SCVs have fallen. Well, we like the start of HeRoMaRinE. It's playable, but it's not as good as it should be. Let's keep it at that.
Yeah, it's playable. He still has an army that's capable of bullying around Maru a little bit, but did he skip the Raven entirely? I want to see... Yes, he did. That's actually a huge deal.
7 Vikings.
Having the turrets, having those interference matrices available, the tank count's also still pretty damn decent for Maru.
He's got 7 Vikings, though.
And an earlier third. But yeah, you're right. He does have an army that can bully for sure, and that's exactly what he's going to do by the looks of it.
Yep, and this is a fight that obviously HeRoMaRinE should be able to win because of all the Vikings. He guns down that Raven. I believe he gunned down something else too of Maru. Maru is going to have to scan quite a bit by the looks of it.
I actually like this situation for Maru, though. I know that he picked off the Banshee specifically there, just so the poking couldn't be done, because he didn't have the air control advantage, as you said. And HeRoMaRinE realizing that, he's like, okay, while I'm getting more Vikings, and I do have more Vikings, I'm getting the Liberator as well, just so I can be annoying, because his third was significantly later than Maru's.
Seems very difficult to play TVT against Maru. It felt that Gabe did a lot of things right, and then he just kind of slipped up on not keeping track of the medevac. And one mistake is perhaps all it takes.
Oh, that was a...
Gabe is still going to try to make some magic happen here. He's going to actually siege his tanks up rather aggressively. A lot of the Vikings of Maru decide to land to help a little bit on the ground. Gabe, his tanks are getting mighty fine shots off, and he's going to land his Vikings too now.
This is huge for HeRoMaRinE. I think Maru's just totally out of position. He has 5 units on the field, and they aren't even remotely as strong as what HeRoMaRinE has. HeRoMaRinE busts into this natural, and he's going to take out the orbital command, even taking out those tanks on top. Maru getting some nice shots off with that tank. It isn't spotted here, but the Liberator comes in as well. I think HeRoMaRiNE's doing it this game.
Even before that Liberator showed up, HeRoMaRinE found the opening he was looking for. Maru was perhaps a bit too far forward. Gabe was able to get some good shots off with his tanks. Obviously landing the Vikings was just the icing on the cake, but he was already winning the fight at that point. Guns down another Viking by the looks of it. Maru lost 23 SCVs. He's going to try to stim down this ramp. The Vikings will land one more time, but Maru ain't going to clean up this army of the biggest of Gabriels. And HeRoMaRinE fights back, and for the very first time in competitive StarCraft 2 history, he takes the map of Maru.
That's actually great for his confidence. Like, super good for his confidence. This guy's been beating you every map that you've played against him, then finally you get a pretty decent win. And yeah, the start went pretty good, but that medevac drop in the main, you're behind in SCVs. He did pay attention, like real good attention to the laws of TVT. Like, he realized he had that air control, he realized that he could kind of bully around Maru a little bit, and he went for it. He seized the opportunity. I was surprised that Maru unsieged all those tanks at the same time and then moved back a little bit, because I felt up until that point he was more than prepared, but HeRoMaRinE just played very well, actually.
And obviously he had no Raven.
No Raven, so. Yeah. It was really good. I like the way that he tried to poke with the Banshee, got a few extra kills there, like the 2 Vikings and a Raven for the 1 Banshee was great.
I actually I was surprised, Ben, that Maru was the one sending over the 3rd orbital before HeRoMaRinE, after he just did so much economic damage and was actually ahead in workers. Like, HeRoMaRinE is the one that actually floated the orbital a lot later. Do you think that Maru just got a bit too eager sending it out, or do you think he has to? Because otherwise HeRoMaRinE is going to contain him.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think sending it out, it's much harder to push against a 3-base Terran than it is a 2-base Terran. Just because there's only one way out, right, of that natural situation. But you are right in that he already had certain leads going on. Like, he had 1-1 on the way. Like, I don't think HeRoMaRinE even had engineering base started. HeRoMaRinE just punished him for this kind of, I don't want to call it super greedy play, because it's not. You normally can get away with it, but it was just very well executed by HeRoMaRinE.
Very well done, but I think that Maru maybe stretched himself a little thin there, because he obviously didn't have too many units, since he also threw away 8 Marines and the medevac on the other side of the map. Well, for a good cause, of course, but that does mean that this man finally gets a point on the board. Can he start a magical comeback hailing from Germany, Cologne? This is the biggest of Gabe's HeRoMaRinE.
And spawning over in the top right-hand side, playing for Team NV, it is Maru. Gonna be interesting.
Let's not forget, by the way, that the previous game started off pretty good for Gabe before he took the economic damage, because the Reaper Hellion skirmish really worked out, sniping that SCV right before the command center was done. It is kind of creating a little economic advantage for himself early on. And this is kind of what we were talking about, where it's like, it's okay to have a lot of respect for your opponent. It's okay to be realistic about the fact that Maru is probably a better player than you. But don't tell yourself that you can't beat him. Because if you feel like you can't beat someone, then the little opportunities that are always there in each and every single game of StarCraft 2, you're not going to capitalize on them. Because you're like, no, he's so good, he's going to be ready for it. This time, Gabe just went up the ramp, and it actually paid dividends.
I actually think getting the scout off on that tank and what he was up against was really huge as well. Like getting the Cyclone out, getting the Banshee out. It was just all very well done by HeRoMaRinE. But you're right, that initial poke did way more damage than I thought it was going to, and I think more than Maru thought it was going to. Anyhow, this game on Jagannatha, Maru did put an SCV out onto the map and will be building. Well, it's going to be a 2 Rax Reaper play, but it's 1 at home, so not a super commitment. But this became popular for a while, and I think we all learned how to do it from Maru as well. HeRoMaRinE does get the scout off, goes up the ramp.
He clicked.
He did click, he did click.
There is an SCV from HeRoMaRinE heading towards the bottom right side of his third base. And if he does follow that path, the thing is, these pro gamers, they like to change their rallies quite often.
He made a reactor? That's actually super surprising. This could get a little bit gnarly quite quickly. I want to see what he does when he does scout what's going on. Okay, so he does get the confirmation.
Cancel the reactor immediately, make second Reaper.
That's a really great play, because I love a lot of what HeRoMaRiNE's doing here. The reactor was a greedy play, going up against what he thought was normal, what he's been doing in the rest of the series, but he respects the play as well.
This is still going to be dicey, though, because he needs to survive a little while with 1 Reaper against 2 Reapers. And you want to get some shots off, but you also don't want to expose it too much. Now, Maru doesn't necessarily know that the timing of the second Reaper is a little bit later, but Maru will not waste a second and get a couple of shots off. You can really see that the timing there was a bit off, but obviously that's not something that Maru could possibly know.
Absolutely not, absolutely not. But again, they're both respecting one another, right? They both know the strengths of these builds and what have you. So back at home, Maru does have his expansion going up a little bit quicker, despite being the one that went for the more aggressive build, but his tech is significantly delayed over HeRoMaRiNE's.
Starport already going down on the side of Gabe. Do you think that Gabe is going to try to make some magic happen with maybe, I want to say multiple Hellions, but that doesn't seem to be the case. He drops a tech lab.
The worrisome thing is moving across the map means that those, like, you don't know how, well, seeing this
I don't know where the Reapers of Maru are, though. Like, if he would right now send these 5 units to the other side of the map, if Maru's 2 Reapers or 3 Reapers would hop into the main base, Gabe would be in a world of trouble.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. It's a really problematic situation, and Maru, he is back at home, like we know, and he's probably was a little bit like, oh, where are those units of my opponent? But he does see with that scout in barracks. It's a very nice build, but as long as HeRoMaRiNE doesn't worry too much, which is what he's done so far, and 3 Reapers running across, I like the way he's handling all of this.
There's Mule being dropped by Maru. HeRoMaRiNE is going to float over his command center now. Does feel that Maru has taken a pretty decent little lead. If Gabe is not able to accomplish anything in the next minute and a half, with the orbital already up and running, oh, HeRoMaRiNE is actually going to have to deal with this barracks too. And Reapers and Hellions are not the greatest units in taking down a barracks. I mean, this may not make all the difference, but it's still annoying, because you just want to land that command center, and you just want to start morphing this thing into an orbital.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so what's happening behind everything? So we have a tank coming down for HeRoMaRiNE along with the Banshee. The Banshee's the biggest deal. Maybe he's feeling, hey, Worked out in game the game prior. Maybe I'll go for it again. Isn't made for getting cloak or anything. Can get a few SCVs killed and what have you. But yeah, I'm excited for this because Jagannatha is not necessarily a game or a map that I get to see a hell of a lot of TVT on.
You know what they say, Ben? Never change your winning team.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nice 4 Marines at the top of this ramp. We'll get a scout off here with these 2 Reapers, and maybe we can still get damage done.
First SCV falls. Can we get another one? Good target fire there by Maru. HeRoMaRinE is going to try to do his best to make sure that these Reapers will go down and won't show up anymore. 7 SCVs down at this point though, Ben. I feel like we've been here before. HeRoMaRinE is pretty good in finding an opening as well. Just lurking around. He's going to send in the Hellion first. That Hellion absorbs a tank shot. Might seem a bit silly, but it does give HeRoMaRinE a good idea of where the defensive units of Maru are located.
HeRoMaRine's playing incredibly... I don't want to say reckless, because it's not reckless whatsoever, but
it's the opposite of reckless, mate.
It's one Banshee into lots of Vikings very quickly. Obviously, the Banshee builds faster, but this is going to be a push. Like, it has to be a push. Maru, Maru's actually making 3 Vikings at a time. He has 2 starports. I think Maru's read really well into this. Where is his second starport, by the way? Aha, in the back of the base there. So even if a scan went down, probably wouldn't see it.
Nope, instead it's Maru who scans the main base of HeRoMaRinE, does not see a single unit. HeRoMaRinE scans the main base of Maru, but does indeed not see that starport, the 3rd starport in the top right side of the main. That's a really sweet play, because Maru might be looking at this like, hey man, I know that you're not investing in upgrades, you're not getting stim, you're not getting combat shield, you're just trying to get tanks in a scary position and overwhelm me in the skies. Well, guess what? I've got a starport more than you, and I've got a better economy than you. What are you going to do now? It does start off good for HeRoMaRinE as he picks up the first tank, but it almost feels like he is gonna walk into a wall of Vikings, and then this push will come to a stop before it ever even truly began running.
Absolutely. This is a nice start for HeRoMaRinE, though. All 3 tanks are shooting, and actually, they're still shooting.
Ben, HeRoMaRinE is gonna go obliterate.
Yeah, absolutely obliterated.
he really needs to start going, but there's just nothing he can really do because Maru still has those Vikings. The second starport was an absolutely brilliant play. The Viking, excuse me, the Raven of Maru does get sniped. The Viking is going to be forced to land for a split second. Well, this was utter and complete domination. You said Maru read him like a book, and I think that's the best way you could really put it.
It read him like a book, and you know, I did say it was a little bit reckless by HeRoMaRinE going for this again. Just because it worked the first time when your opponent did an opening, he also had the advantage at the start of last game when he did something kind of similar. It's just rough, man. Maru, he adjusted so damn well this game. Now he's eked out a 20 supply lead. Also, his 3rd base is significantly faster.
Sick. Maru's like, you think you're really going to get me with that again? That's like something Todd would do in our Warcraft 3 days. You know, he would just like absolutely hard counter the thing that you beat him once with. Like, you really think that's going to work again? Well, HeRoMaRinE now obviously has picked up on the fact, like, wait a minute, you have so many Vikings, man. You must have done something a bit different. You rushed into that second starport, and Maru said, yes, indeed, I did. That command center is starting to take serious damage. Even if we keep this CC alive, HeRoMaRinE is in a world of trouble. I cannot emphasize enough on how bad this game is for Gabe, because I actually see no fairy tale way out, man. I want to say, like, maybe he can pull the SCV soon and still turtle, get us into 3 bases, but Maru just has a bit more of everything. HeRoMaRinE knows it, and he is forced to tap out.